So hello everyone, welcome to day 4 of your Antiviral Vlogs, and this is part 3 of how I make a video for YouTube. What you're looking at here on the screen is the desktop on my laptop computer. The specs for my laptop are in the description down below. Some of you may find that interesting. I think a lot more of you won't, so I'm not going to go into them here. So as I say, specs are down in the description below if you're interested in it. So before we begin, I just want to point out that this is in no way, shape or form a tutorial of how to use these pieces of software that I'm about to show you. I have self-learned how to use these pieces of software. There's only 2, and I'm going to show you the way I use them. As I say, I've not had any lessons, it's all self-taught. So, and I'm sure there will be easier ways to use and quicker ways to use this software, but this is the way I edit a video for YouTube. At the very outset, I've tidied up my desktop. As you can see, there's very little on here. At least it gave me a good reason to tidy up the desktop. And what we're left with here is these 2 files. So all the files that are in these 2 folders, this one's the Insta360 folder. I downloaded it straight off of the SD cards that I plugged into the laptop. All of my cameras have some sort of functionality for wireless transfer of these files. I tend not to use it. It's just as easy to unplug the SD cards, stick them in my computer and get a fast transfer that way. So I've now transferred from the SD cards all the files into these 2 folders, and what we're going to do is first we'll have a look at the Insta360 footage. We're going to edit some of that in there so that we can carry that over into the second piece of software and actually use the Insta360 footage when we come to edit the video. So starting off then, this is the first piece of software that I want to show you. It's the Insta360 Studio for 2020. It's a free piece of software from Insta360. Anybody can have it and anybody can have a go. You don't even have to have that type of camera. It edits most formats of 360 footage. So starting off then, I've imported 4, you can see up here there's 4 pieces of footage that I've taken off of the camera and brought in here already. To import it was very easy. It's just File, Open Files, and there's the folder with all the footage that we took yesterday. I've selected these 4 for us to look at already. The top 2 are from the 360 degree mod, the bottom 2 are from the 4K mod. So the first piece of footage that I want to show you from the Insta360 module is this piece of footage here. This is a 360 degree picture. It's laid out flat, but if you can imagine folding it so that this edge meets with that edge, what you've actually got is a complete 360 degree panorama. Now we can see that if I click this button up here where it says free capture. I'll just click that now, and that's now actually taken those 2 edges and the top and bottom and put them all together and turned it into a globe that I can just swipe around in. Using my mouse we can look up and down, all the way down, all the way up, and we can even do weird things like go all the way over. But as I explained to you on camera the other day, the 360 degree camera quite literally captures everything. There's nothing hidden at all from that camera. Now the reason that I wanted to just load this one up for you was just to prove something whilst we're sitting here. I was talking about a swan that was swimming past on the canal, and obviously you couldn't see it in the other camera, and I just wanted to show you it in this camera. I know it's up the end here somewhere, and there's the swan, and he swam on by. So the next piece of footage that I want to look at through the Insta360 mod is this one. This is a piece of footage that I took later on the same day where I'm riding along the canal towpath. And as you can see, we've got this very weird laid out flat picture again. So we'll click on the free capture button at the top and turn that into a globe. And there we are, looking backwards along the canal towpath. Well, that's fine, but how long would you want to see that view and not be wanting to see what's coming up in front? So this is where we get into what I was calling reframing in my last video. If we wind this back to the beginning. Right, so we're sitting at the beginning, we're on the canal towpath, and as I said, I can scroll around. This is perhaps the more interesting view at this point in the video. If you imagine this is a piece of videotape laid out on the floor from start to end, and right at the beginning our most interesting view is straight ahead down the canal towpath. So if we just press play from there and we roll along, and we'll go past the boats. Now, whilst you're sitting at home watching this, perhaps maybe you would have liked to have looked at the boats as we went past, but you couldn't because you have no control over what we're looking at. However, as we went past the boats, I, in control of the mouse, can scroll past, and we can have a look at the boats as we go past. Now, reframing is all about me choosing which bits I think are going to be interesting on this piece of footage and reframing the view so that you guys at home get to see what I think is more interesting in this piece of 360-degree footage. So let's just do that again then. I'll come back to that button in a minute. So we trundle along the canal towpath and we want to have a look at these boats as we go past. Well, as we get near the boats, I'm going to do what we call keyframing. This button is a keyframe. What it does, it tells this piece of software that at this point we want to be looking in this direction. So then if we move forward a bit, now we're getting near the boats, I'm going to tell the camera, or I'll turn the camera to look at the boats, and we'll keyframe it in to say this is where we want to be looking at this point in the film. Then we'll go forward a bit, do the same thing again. We now want to be looking perhaps somewhere near that window. Keyframe it again, move it forward a bit, keyframe it again. Each time I'm clicking this button, you can see it's putting a keyframe along our piece of tape that's laid along the bottom here. So now we're past the boats, what are we going to look at now? Well, how about we come back to the forward view. So we're looking forward again, and we keyframe that in, and we carry along going forwards. So as we continue down this canal towpath then, there may be something else interesting there that we want to see. There may be not, I don't know. But at this point it doesn't look as though there is. So at this point I could just cut it, and that would be our whole clip of us riding past the boats. So to cut this piece of footage, we don't want to watch it all the way through to there, so we use this button and it's now cut. Put a cut in there and we now have our piece of footage. So if we go back to the start, click play, away we go, and as we get near the boats the camera will start to turn. There we go, we have a look at the boats and back to the front again. Now you have to bear in mind that was a very quick keyframing that I did there. I didn't do a smooth keyframing. I've just used that one as an example so you can see what's happening. And just drag that back out again so we can use all of the footage. I'll just show you another example. Now by the time we get to this point I've actually started holding the camera out to the side. Can't quite see the shadow yet, I'm behind the tree. But we're moving down, we've passed the boats. And at the moment that might be quite a pleasing view, I don't know. But we'll use that view for now. And so if we click and hold the camera in that view for a couple of moments, I mean, maybe that's not what we want to see. Maybe we don't want to be seeing me at that point. Maybe there's something else. Maybe we want to look at this tree, or maybe the electricity pylon for some strange reason. In fact, yes, let's look at the electricity pylon. We'll study that as we go past. So again, I point the camera at the electricity pylon and just click the keyframe. Move it on a bit. The idea is to try and keep the point that we're actually viewing right in the middle of the screen. So we move the electricity pylon to the middle of the screen, keyframe it again, move it forward, keyframe it. The more of these keyframes you put in, the smoother the transition is when we play it back. But as I said, this is just quick and dirty for now, just to show you guys how I use the piece of software. So just keyframe that in, and then we'll come back round to the front view, just like that. Then we cut it. Now I think the beginning of that transition piece was about somewhere here, so again we'll have a look at me and then straight up to that pylon and follow the pylon as we go past. So yeah, let's imagine that we're happy with that. What we do then is we save it, and then we export it. And we can call it whatever name we want. We'll leave it as this funny number. It's got a 009 on the end of it, so we'll remember 009. Click OK, and then you can see it'll take a few seconds. It was a very short clip, so it won't take long. Ta-da! There we go. That's done. So where did that end up? Well, if we go back to the folder on the desktop, somewhere down here, there it is, 009, and it's got a different icon in front of it because it's a piece of video that can now be used in the next piece of software that I'm going to show you in a moment. But let's just go back in here for a minute. Hopefully that explains now, guys, what I mean by reframing. Basically, it's taking a 3D, sorry, not 3D, it's taking a 360 degree piece of footage like this, and it's reframing to let you guys at home see what I think were the most interesting parts out of that video as I was riding along. And it obviously it can be anything, riding anywhere. You saw a couple of clips of me in the Olympic Park the other day, and I panned round so that you could see that monstrosity of a piece of artwork tower, the red thing with the slide on it. Can't remember what it's called now. But you get my point. I can take this footage and show you what I want you to see. And I didn't have to worry about where I was pointing the camera. I just held the camera up as I was riding along and it caught everything, and then I choose later on. To me, I think that's fantastic. So the next piece of footage then, guys, is the first one that I want to show you with the 4K mod. I found something on there called Hyperlapse, and as I said to you before, I hadn't used the 4K mod on the Insta360 until this day, and so I was going through the menus and I found Hyperlapse, and this is the footage that Hyperlapse gave me back. It's kind of like a fast time lapse, but it's a lot smoother, I think you'll agree, than a normal time lapse. And then this cyclist got in my way, so I pulled over and stopped. And the piece of film is just looping around there, so I'll press pause. Now, there's no free capture on this. We can't click that free capture button because this is not a 360 degree video. It's just a flat screen. What you see there is what you get. There's no scrolling round from side to side. I can't see what's behind me, above me or below me. This is it. What you see in there is the picture. Now, right at the beginning here, obviously, we don't want to see the handlebars. This is the point at which I was pressing start on the camera and we're sat still. Nobody wants to see that. So we get rid of that by dragging this playhead forward until we're well into the shot, and then we can cut it with the other side cut button. If you watch down here, when I click the button, it just cuts the piece of film there. This is now the start point for the film, not back there where we were looking at the handlebars. Similarly, at the other end, where I come to a stop, I came to a stop at the end here, and there's handlebars and things in the picture again when I've stopped and I'm pressing the stop button on the camera. So we'll just take that back a bit and we'll similarly cut that at this end here. That then leaves us with a piece of footage without the handlebars, and all the rest is the same. But I thought I'd show you that one because I kind of like hyperlapse. I think I might be using the hyperlapse a little bit more from now on. The other thing that I will show you whilst we're just looking at this and going along the canal. So just supposing that we stopped the film here and we think, oh my goodness, that's a wonderful picture. What a pretty picture. I wish I could keep that one. We've got another button here, and that's the snapshot button. And we can just click that, and what it's done, it's taken a screenshot of that. We can save it, and that is now a picture on the computer that I've kept, and I could use it for a thumbnail perhaps, or something like that, but obviously I would choose something a bit more interesting than this for a thumbnail, but I'm just using that as an example. You can see what I mean. Anywhere throughout any of the film, on the 360 or the 4K, we can just take a snapshot and use that for our thumbnail. That's just thinking in advance a little bit, because thumbnails are something that you do need to think about for YouTube as well. So this is the second piece of footage that I wanted to show you guys that I took with the 4K mod. I just wanted to show you this one because I think it answers one of the questions that I was asked in the comments after day 3. Apologies, I can't remember who asked the question, but the question was around video stabilization. Does the camera have it built in? Well, it does, and it was an option that I had to select in the camera whilst I was taking the footage to enable me to switch on and off here. So if we just play this through, I'll switch it off to start off with, and we'll play this through. Now, I thought I was holding the camera quite steady as I was riding along, but I think you'll agree that if you watch too much of that, it would probably hurt your eyes on a big screen, certainly. And as we go along, there's actually 2 people about to appear just here, and you can barely see them because the camera's shaking around so much. You can just about make out their feet, and it's just, I wouldn't use this footage if it was like that. I really wouldn't use it, to be honest. So we'll just rewind that a little bit. Press play again. Now this time I'm going to switch it on. You can see it shaking around still, and then I'll switch on the stabilization. I think you'll agree that that's quite impressive. I don't think any of my cameras stabilise quite as well as that. I was very impressed when I first saw it. Again, turn it off and you can see how much it's shaking around. It just makes it almost impossible to see things, but now these 2 people on the towpath are really, really visible. So there we go, guys. I think you'll agree the stabilisation on this camera is excellent. I'm really impressed with it. And just to note also as well, this is only recording in 1080p, not 4K. It's pointless me recording footage in 4K through the 4K mod, since none of my other cameras are 4K, and when I upload to YouTube it would reduce it down to 1080p in any case. So having created the clips that we needed out of the Insta360 camera, we move on to the next piece of software, which is Premiere Pro. I've just started using Premiere Pro to edit my videos. Up until December I was using Cybelink's Power Director, and then I realised that Premiere Pro is perhaps head and shoulders above Power Director. And as I said at the outset, this is not a tutorial on how to use Premiere Pro. This is just me showing you how I make videos using Premiere Pro. I know there are shortcuts that I don't know about, and I'm sure you guys will be telling me a few in the comments afterwards. But here we go anyhow. I've already uploaded 3 pieces of footage that I'm going to use today, or 2 pieces of footage. We've got 2 pieces of video and a piece of music over here. Now I'm also now just going to import the 2 little clips that we've created with our 360 camera a moment ago. So we'll go to File, Import, then we'll find our Insta360 folder, and then we need to find those video files. So it's this one, and there's our 009. Open those, and it'll import them into Premiere Pro down here. So this is our library in Premiere Pro. Now I've only got 5 pieces in there now. Usually when I'm creating a video, if it's one of my county rides, I might have 100 pieces of video in there. And you think to yourself, well, how do you know which one's which? Well, what we can do down here, we can sort them, but in the order that they were shot by. And that's the way I do it, so that when I'm out for a ride during the day, obviously my ride tells a story from beginning to end, and the videos are shot in order throughout the day. So I just work my way through the library, plonking the pieces of video together and cutting them together. So what do we do with all these various clips? Well, to the right of that we have this box, and as it says drop media here to create a sequence. Well, I'm going to take our piece of music to start off with, and I'm going to drag it over and drop it in there. And now it's populated that with, this is our piece of music. If I just open that up a bit so you can see it. These are the sound waves in the piece of music as it gets louder and quieter, and what we have here is the left and right channels. So that's your left ear, that's your right ear on a pair of headphones. So again, I like to imagine this window as being like a cutting room floor in the old movie scene, where we have our pieces of film laid out on the desk, and then you can come along with a razor blade and cut them through, and then you stick them back together again, and in the end you end up with a long piece of videotape with all your pieces cut and stuck together into a video that I can then use to put on YouTube. So to start off with then, we've got this piece of music on our cutting room floor, and I want this whole piece of music. I'm not going to cut it at all. But whilst we're looking at this piece of music, I'll tell you where I got it from, the same place that I get all my music from at the moment. So if we go over here, and it's this website, it's Epidemic Sound. Now I pay them a subscription of £10 a month, and for that I get to browse through literally thousands of different pieces of music. There is music to suit all tastes and all videos on here, and you can browse through it and then download it to your heart's content. The benefit of being with Epidemic Sound is that all this music is royalty free. I can use it on YouTube and I won't get any strikes for using copyrighted music on YouTube. None of this music is copyrighted. So back to Premiere Pro. I have chosen this piece of music. What I'm actually doing here today is I'm going to create a little out sequence for tomorrow's video. For part 4 of this how I create a video, tomorrow I'm going to do a question and answers session whilst I'm out on the trike to answer some of the questions that I've been asked in the comments over the last 3 days. This piece of music will come at the end of that video. So I've studied this piece of music, and I already have an idea in my head about how I'm going to use this piece to showcase different aspects of my ride tomorrow. First one that you will have seen before is me using Relive. Now I've got a Relive over here that obviously it belongs to a different ride. It doesn't belong to the ride that I'm going to do tomorrow, but I will make a Relive video tomorrow to go in this video. But for today we're going to use this Relive video over here. So I'm going to drag that over and put that on a video channel above the audio. Now you can see it comes with its own audio. This is the audio with the Relive, and this is the Relive video. We have video tracks and audio tracks. This is the audio from Relive. That's actually Relive music, which is copyrighted to the company Relive. So we can't use that. YouTube wouldn't like it. So we delete that and get rid of it. And we bring our Relive video back over here. Now, the couple of points that I'm looking at in my music, one of them, I think it's somewhere here. We'll have a listen to it in a minute, and we'll see if we can hear where that changing point is. We need to find out where that point in the music is, because that's where I want my Relive to start. So let's have a quick listen. Somewhere around here. there. That's the point. Let me zoom in on that a bit. What I'm doing, I'm looking for that high note that we just heard when that was playing. And it looks as though it's on that peak there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark that peak. We bring the playhead over that peak and I'll put a mark on it. The mark is now up here. So wherever that playhead goes, it doesn't matter, we've still got a mark. And I'm going to bring my relive back over and it'll snap to that mark. See how it's doing that? So I now know that my relive will start on the beat of that piece of music. So let's play it just for a second. There we go. And that's me going off on a ride that you will see. I'll edit it at some point over the next week, hopefully, and you'll get to see me doing my alley-pally ride. But having put that in there, I also know that I want that relive to finish somewhere around this dip. There's another point here where the music changes once again. So we'll have a listen to this point. So we got that beat there, that where it goes pow there. I need to find that point for my relive to end. So I think it's just about there. Within a frame or two, that really doesn't matter whether I've got it spot on or not, but within a frame or two, we're pretty much there. So again, I'm going to mark that, and we can move the playhead away, that doesn't matter. So I now end up with a relive clip that starts at the point that I want it to start, but it doesn't finish at the point I want it to finish. Unfortunately, I can't cut the end off of this relive clip because I will lose part of the obvious video. I want to see the whole ride, not just the part until that music changes, so I can't cut the end off of it. I need to shrink this in some other way. And the first thing that I do need to do, because I've just remembered, is on the end of all relive videos is an advert, and I don't want that advert, so I'm just going to frame that to find exactly where the advert starts. That's about it. And then we'll cut the end off. We'll take our little razor blade, cut that advert off the end. So our relive video now finishes at the end of my ride, and then the screen goes black. But even having cut that off, we still have this overhang of relive video, and I need it to finish on that point there. The only way I can do that is to speed the clip up, make it play faster, and we do that with the speed and duration tab, and I'm going to take that up to about 125% and see where that gets us. That was a complete guess, I promise. And where has it got us? Pretty much spot on. I do promise that was an absolute guess, 125%. I was guessing because it looked as though it was about a quarter of the length of the total video that I needed to get rid of. So there we go. Normally it would take me 2 or 3 guesses to get that within range, but as you can see now, we get to the end of that piece of music. And it goes black right on the beat of the music, and that's exactly what I wanted, because at that point what I want to do, I want to cut to the next piece of video. Now why do we do that? Well, I learned just from watching other people's YouTube videos that changing the picture on the beat of music makes things ultimately more watchable. You can't just change pictures anywhere that you want to. It has to be with the music. And I think it's something that goes right through the film industry, TV, and down to little people like myself on YouTube. If you can do that and make your videos more watchable, if you take nothing else away from what I'm showing you today at all, try that, and I think you'll agree it's much more enjoyable to watch. So then we can play this piece of video it's a drone piece that I've just popped on the end of the relive, and you'll see it'll swap from the relive straight to the drone video on the beat of the music. And of course it didn't, because it's lagging a little bit. Let's try it again. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that change dead on the beat of the music. Now there's a problem here in that even though the video changes to dead on the beat of the music, I'm not actually in frame, and I don't appear in that frame until much later on. I'm just going to mute the soundtrack for a minute because we don't need that at the moment. So when it changes, it's actually a few seconds before I ride into the frame. There I am. I actually want to be there the instant this changes. So again, we need to cut a piece out of the beginning of this video. So I'm just going to back frame until I go out, just out of shot. There we go. Then we'll get our little cutting tool again. Cut. Remove that piece. It's just deleting. That's all I'm doing. I'm selecting it and pressing delete. We now have this gap, and the way we fill that gap is with a right click we can ripple delete, and it pulls it in nice and tight right next to it. So to having just cut that, now what we can do, we can play it again, and as it changes from the relive to the drone footage, bang, I'm there straight away. So that's one piece edited in. On the beat of the music, we've got from one piece to another, and we've got me riding down there. Now, I'm riding down the canal. How far do we leave that for? How long is a piece of string? I mean, I'm going to ride my trike all the way down there. So how long is this going to be interesting for somebody to sit and watch on a screen? I don't know. You don't know. Different people would watch that for different lengths of time and still find something interesting in that. However, what actually determines where we cut this, again, is going to be the beat of the music. So somewhere in here, I would suggest, there's going to have to be a beat of music that we can cut and then put the next piece in. Remember, it's always playing to the music. So let's have a listen to the piece of music when we get from about there and see what happens. So there's several beats in there, isn't there? We could use any of those beats. Let's use that one. So I'm going to put a marker on there. So we have a beat where that marker is. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to that marker with my cutting tool. It snaps to it again, just the cutting tool. It shows a line where I'm going to cut, and I know I'm cutting exactly on that line. Again, select the rest of that drone footage and press delete. So what could we put in there next? Well, next we could go to maybe our hyperlapse that I've brought in here from the Insta360. So I'll pop the hyperlapse on there. Let's see how that now transitions from one to the other. I don't know whether you noticed that, but I did. It looks as though I've started it with the old piece of video again. Have I got my handlebars in at the beginning? Just mute that track again. Yeah, the handlebars are there. I've imported the wrong track, but we can deal with that even now. So again, we'll put it somewhere there. Get the cutting tool, and we'll cut that little piece out at the beginning. Just like so. Ripple delete. And it's tucked it in there nicely, but that probably also means we've got the foul ending bit there as well. But we'll leave that there for the moment. Let's just have a look. Of course, we need the music to be able to hear that it's changing on the beat. So that changed perfectly on the beat, but to me that's a bit of a that's a bit harsh on the eye when it changes from one to the other. It's a nice slow state of me riding along the canal path, and then all of a sudden we're rushing along on this hyperlapse. So what can we do about that? Well, we can perhaps change that. We could put in some effects. What we can do, we can add a transition maybe to that one, would help a bit. So what transitions have we got? I'm just thinking out loud. Ooh. Tell you what, it might even work with the default transition. If we do a right click on the join between the two, there's a default transition, and my default is set up as a crossfade. You can see it's doing it partially there as we're sitting right on the join with the playhead. So I'll show you that one now with a transition in there, see if that works any better. Much smoother. The difference is between this without the transition see, it's just a quick flick between one and the other, or we can go back and we can put the transition back in again, and then this. And I think you'll agree with me, that transition looks better than just one clip to the other. At the end of the relive, because of the epic sound of the piece of music, the crash of the piece of music at the end there, cutting to the drone footage I think probably works. So there we go, we've now got two pieces together and we've transitioned them in completely different ways. If we go back to the beginning again, back to this gap that I've left here at the start of the video, we've got this piece of music here. Well, in here and prior to this piece of music, because I can select the whole lot and move them all up. In fact, I'll do that just to show you what I mean. If I select everything that we've just done and move it up, I can then put lots of new stuff in here, which I intend to do. All the Q's and A's for tomorrow will go in here. And then there'll be a little bit of talky into the relive. We'll play the relive and then we'll have some footage of me riding or flying the drone into the end, and then the fade off from the piece of music. So obviously we've created this around a piece of music. I don't always work to music. If it's me chatting away to the camera, I don't have to find key points in music then, it's just the end of sentences. If I finish saying something, then I can cut and go on to the next piece and perhaps intermix that with other pieces of footage from drone shots or the Insta360 as we're going along. But this is the more difficult of the two. If it's between me talking or adding pieces of footage to music, I would rather do the talking any day. Adding pieces of footage to music, as you've just seen, can be quite difficult. I've studied this piece of music before we started doing this edit, so I knew exactly where our points were, where I wanted to be adding these in. So what do we do then once we've got this finished? Imagine this is a finished article. This is the complete work that I want to post onto YouTube. But all we then have to do is go up to File, Export, Media, and by the magic of Premiere Pro it actually tells us, because it knows what these pieces of video are. It knows the frame rate of them, and all the information that's in these clips has been taken and added over here. So we've input, the source that we input was 1920 by 1080 pixels, so the output is also going to be 1920 by 1080, so it's going to be an HD video, and it's worked all that out itself. And then we can scroll down here under Publish. We've got the Publish tab open, and at the bottom there we've got YouTube. I'm signed in as Tim's Trike Trips, and I can literally just click that button and it will publish directly from Premiere Pro into YouTube. Job done. All I then have to do is go to YouTube to add things like descriptions and titles. I could do it here, but it's a lot easier to do that on YouTube's interface. Once that's all set up, we just click the export button at the bottom there, and it will start to make the video and publish it to YouTube for us. And it really is as simple as that with Premiere Pro. So one final little bit that I just wanted to show you was also, of course, we spoke a little bit about it earlier with the Insta camera. When you're creating videos for YouTube, we create thumbnails with them. I use this website here for my thumbnails. It's called canva.com. It's a free website. You can go in there and you can use it for free, and you can create all your own thumbnails. All they are is a coloured background with a picture laid in the middle and some text on the top with my logo. You can see all the ones that I've created before there laid out, from some of them from ages and ages ago. But yeah, I find this really handy, quick and easy way to make a thumbnail for YouTube. The thumbnails that YouTube creates automatically from your videos can sometimes be a bit strange or weird, and I set out from the outset that I would create thumbnails for each of my videos, and I have done all along. So there we go, that's that one. So we've got Canva for the thumbnails and Epidemic Sound for the music. We're using Premiere Pro for the video editing and the Insta360 Studio for the footage out of my Insta360. So I hope a little bit of that made some sense to you guys. I'll be back tomorrow to do some Q's and A's, and then you'll see the final version of this outro that we've just been creating there in Premiere Pro, and you can then give me some feedback what you think of that. And please, if you've got any questions or comments about Premiere Pro or the Insta360 Studio, or about the ways that I've just shown you that I've been editing, ask them in the comments below, and I'll get to answer some of them tomorrow, hopefully, because as I say, Premiere Pro is a new piece of software to me, and I'm still learning as well. With that said, I'm waffling again now. Time to go. I'm going to go out on the trike in a minute, so that's going to be fun, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers then. Ta-da.